something like this and you say, hey, what was this 1911? Could have been nipped in the bud right there.
Yeah,
right?
he was.
If we had known what this guy was going to do, and the downstream effects with having all the Warsaw Pact countries basically living under totalitarianism for 2 generations, if we could avoid that just by taking this guy out, and then the unmitigated audacity of him doing time in the Tsarist prison, getting out 20 years later, creating this gulag system with terrible conditions and killing people. It's like, dude, you had the Club Med of Tsarist prisons, and here you are setting up the gulag.
Now, we wanted to kind of discuss. I wanted to discuss because there's a lot of big news about somebody's mugshot. So it made me go, okay, there's a lot of other celebrities out there. And what their mugshots are. And I'm thinking, okay, well, who else is famous out there in the world that has gotten mugshots? And when I asked you this question about this, and this will be our main topic, and this is some famous people in history and their mugshots. So I'm going to go through a slideshow here, but you were surprised by some of them. And
I was, yeah.
Yeah, and this isn't like celebrities. These are iconic, I guess, according to this site, they're iconic figures in history that had mugshots. So I thought it'd be funny to go through these and so on. So
yeah, there's celebrities and there's celebrity dictators.
Yeah.
So I think one thing out of the gate, something I want to mention is that, to some extent we are such a poorer country, because look at the richness of the analog film, the richness of the deepness of the photo. This is a photograph, right? You look at the Trump mugshot, it looks like a very pixelized, very shallow, very washed out. Doesn't have the depth of these true film mugshots. I think we're a poorer country for it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think digital photo in some cases kind of sometimes they do look great, like on when on screen, they like in HD, like they look, wow, look at the colors and stuff like that, especially like scenery. But when you get to like certain things, it's like it's better on film, and that goes to like movies too. For example, I saw a few movies in the 33 millimeter where it was like Interstellar and a couple others, and I was like, wow, it just looked like a better movie. But
the Trump mugshot, it didn't have the numbers behind his head. I'm like, this looks
the new ones.
What it looks like is, it looks like when you go to the fair and you go down the water slide, they take your picture on the way down. It was like that. This isn't a mugshot.
Mugshots don't really have numbers anymore, to be honest. So not a lot of new ones. So this was David Bowie.
We used to be a proper country.
We took good mugshots. This is David Bowie, and he got busted for marijuana in 1976. So
isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing now to think back then you could get arrested for that. Now you can't go get a coffee to deal with somebody who's high, right?
Yeah, you can't even smell it. Yeah, but he had it on him. Apparently his charges disappeared. So whatever that means. But yeah, and then he looks a little different there. And then we have this is Pablo Escobar before he must have been real into what he was doing. This one is another iconic figure, turned into a pretty bad guy. But you can tell he enjoyed this picture. This is 1977.
Became public enemy #1, and used his narco wealth to buy off judges and curry favors. And he was basically a celebrity. It was basically a celebrity in, I think it was Colombia. And I don't know if it was, I forget the name of the guy who wrote Black Hawk Down, wrote a book called Killing Pablo. And it was basically I don't know if it was the CIA or who, it was American assets trained the Colombian squad that hunted him down and shot him like a dog.
Yeah, there was a TV show on Netflix, I believe.
Okay.
Narco, that covered that whole process. I thought that was pretty cool. So
and Pablo was played by. I'm doing the Netflix joke. You're supposed to say like You're supposed to say Vivica A. Fox played Pablo or whatever.
Oh no, I don't remember who played Pablo. To be honest, maybe someone can help me out there. The artistry of Mugshots has truly been lost. Beard says.
Beard of Liberty. We used to be a proper country.
Yeah, Narcos is a great show.
So is Narcos about Pablo?
Yeah, the first season is. So
Okay.
I think the first 2 seasons, I believe. It's got the guy from, oh man, I'm using his name because I don't watch that show. The guy from Mandalorian in it.
Okay.
So he's the main cop, and then you have Pablo. So they have like this cat and mouse type thing.
And aside from like having people killed, and aside from buying off judges and stuff like that, he would also use his wealth, I think, to build like soccer stadiums and stuff like that. Yeah. And it was like, okay, we'll take the good with the bad. And we'll
Pedro Pascal is the cop or the DEA agent in the show. So, but a lot of the stories in the show are based on real events.
Sure.
They'll show like actual news photo. Here we go. Look at my wonderful chat. Pablo played by Wagner Mora.
All right.
Yeah. So that meme you see where like a dude with curly hair is like sitting on the swing all sad and he's standing by the pool.
Is that what that's from?
That's from that. Joker says Pablo was responsible for hippos and being in Mexico. Okay. Did not know that. Here's Kurt Cobain in 1986.
Yeah.
So this is right before he's hit it big with his music career. But he was busted for I guess trespassing while intoxicated.
It comes down to like your choices in life. I mean, you could be in 1986, you could be on the top of a building getting drunk, and your next few decisions are going to determine: do you join Antifa or do you start a rock band? And those, you could go either way in life. And he made the right decision, didn't make some good decisions in 1994, but really.
Well, there's a whole rabbit hole we can do a whole show on about what I think about what happened to him.
Courtney.
So let's see here. We got Rosa Parks. So most time you hear her, about her story about being at the back of the bus. But I believe this is the when she was arrested during that boycott. So 1956. Yeah. So this is her again. She looks dressed nice. A lot of them, the other ones, they were kind of, scrub looking. You could tell they were in trouble, but she's just looking like a normal person, and now she's a famous mugshot. So.
It's interesting to see her, as a kind of as this American hero, and to look at kind of like the serenity in her face, and it's sort of like when they were doing the bus boycotts, little did they know how successful they would be, what kind of changes it would bring to America. And then later in life, she was living in, I think she was living in Chicago, and some hoodlums broke into her apartment. Right. So before she passed away, she was in the news again because she was the victim of random hoodlum crime.
Yeah.
But she is an American hero. She and Martin Luther King, all those who participated in nonviolent passive resistance to end segregation and some of the weaker points in American history. Kudos to them.
Yeah.
Wish her the best. She's a hero. Just sad that she got home invaded.
Yeah. It's same with MLK. It's sad what happened. It's just they showed you how to make your thought meaningful. Like when you have violence or something behind it, most people are very turned off by it. So here's another great artist or singer, Johnny Cash, and this was when he was arrested in El Paso, Texas.
Is this where he shot a man just to watch him die?
Is this where he shot a man? I don't know, but he was carrying he was carrying hundreds of pep pills and tranquilizers.
Doesn't look like he's using pep pills. So I can pull together. I can pull the strings together. Did you know that young Mr. Johnny Cash here? Did you know that he was the first American to know that Stalin died? Did you know that? So in the army, I think he was in Germany. He was a telegraph or Morse code decipherer or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He was in the Signal Corps or whatever. And when in 1953, when Stalin died and the Soviet Union was wiring to the embassies to warn them, hey, good news, Stalin's dead. No purges now. Khrushchev's in charge. He intercepted it, transcribed it, and read it, and said, "Oh my God, Stalin's dead." So, and we will be getting to Stalin a bit later, but I think it's kind of some interesting synergy to tie these together.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. We are going to show his here soon. But yeah, Johnny Cash, tranquilizer, whatever.
So do you take the tranquilizers before or after the pet pills?
I don't know. I have no idea why you would even have any of that, but he had hundreds, so he was going to sell them. But yeah, if you go back, it was because he got arrested on the Juarez, Mexico border. If you ever been in New Mexico or El Paso, it's not very hard to even see that border, especially back then.
They don't arrest anybody nowadays.
Juarez is a place to go to get prescription. Yeah, it's been for years. So here's the one that you were mentioning before that you actually in a private message, like, I did not even know this. And this is Joseph Stalin arrested in St. Petersburg in 1911. Now this is a pretty this looks like a rap album.
It does look like a rap album. It's like what's the so I was aware I'm aware of Stalin's criminal record, and I'd seen this mugshot before, and I think that I can't decipher that, but he did have like a cloven foot, like one of his foots was he had toes that were fused together, so that kind of underscores the thing that he's like the Antichrist devil. But it was Mussolini. But we'll get to Mussolini in a minute. I had no idea Mussolini had been.
Oh, that's right. The other evil dictator.
but this picture of Stalin, this does provoke a line of inquiry, and now we're dealing with counterfactuals. But the deal is that the Bolsheviks, many of them were arrested by the Tsar's police and were imprisoned in the Tsar's like labor camps and things like that. And when you think about the fact that Lenin and Stalin did time in Tsarist Russia, but they got out of custody, right? They served their time. What kind of world would it be had the Tsar been a little more brutal, and had he just snuffed these guys out? Like would it be a better world if the Tsar had just said, you know what, you guys, you're no good. You're irredeemable. The Tsar would be a bad guy.
However, it goes down to the same thing. Like, if certain other people in the world were either had a different end of their life or removed in some way before they did their deeds, how different would we be? So yeah, you never know.
And when you think about history, so Stalin, killed 30 million of his own people. Stalin killed more Marxists in the Soviet Union than anywhere else, right? And then he instigated all these purges. He subsidized Mao Zedong in China, right? So you could make the argument that when he was arrested here, had the Tsar's police just taken him out, history would have played out differently. And same with Lenin,
most likely.
But then it's like, okay, well, there's that immediate tragedy, and we don't want that, right? We think people are redeemable, but maybe they're not, And so I don't know which way to go, but it does, when you see something like this and you say, hey, what was this 1911? It could have been nipped in the bud right there.
Yeah,
right? If we had known what this guy was going to do, and the downstream effects with having all the Warsaw Pact countries basically living under totalitarianism for 2 generations, if we could avoid that just by taking this guy out, and then the unmitigated audacity of him doing time in the Tsarist prison, getting out 20 years later, creating this gulag system with terrible conditions and killing people. It's like, dude, you had the Club Med of Tsarist prisons, and here you are setting up the gulag, and you're basically your forced labor camps and stuff like that. So it's stuff to ponder, and I think you don't think about it until you see something like this, and it kind of smacks you upside the head.
It does. So yes, I beat Jason Todd with a crowbar, shot Barbara Gordon, set Gotham on fire numerous times. Does that make me evil?
Yes.
Yeah, it does. Sorry, Joker.
I don't know if the police should shoot you, but yeah, you're a bad guy, Joker.
Yeah. So here's another. This one's famous. A lot of people have seen this one. This is Charles Manson. When he was arrested in 1969 over the murders of Sharon Tate. So this one's another famous. A lot of movies have been based off this photo, this person, this genre of era in that time period. The last movie I think they did something, a nice little spin on, which I thought was pretty neat, was Once Time in Hollywood, where they saved the day, and he did not get the chance to murder Sharon Tate, and I thought that was great. So I thought that was a pretty fun spin on that tale. But yeah, this one's another.
And looking,
what was up with the '60s and all these cults? By the way, they like all started in the '60s.
So I think some of it was fallout from MK Ultra, and some of it was the drug use. But when you look at this mugshot and you see those eyes, we've all seen those eyes. We've all gone to the bus stop to wait for the city bus, and you got a guy there with those eyes, right? And the question is, it's an important question. What is it that takes the guy with the crazy eyes at the bus stop and turns him into a cult leader versus just the guy with the crazy eyes at the bus stop?
I don't know how people follow these people either. I don't get it.
I think he was preying upon people that were kicked out of home. He basically he would sweep together all the losers, right? People who were kicked out of their parents' house, people couldn't hold down a steady job. He had like a crash pad, he had food, he had drugs.
Yeah, they kind of showed that in that movie where like he could have been hanging out, and yeah.
And he traded, I think he sold a song to the Beach Boys. I think it was he wrote a song called Cease to Resist, I think, and they changed the words, but he was mad because he wanted to sell more. He wanted more money. So he's like on a lark, one of the Beach Boys bought a song from him, and then they couldn't get him to shut up, and they were trying to ghost him. And he was getting more and more mad because he's like wanted to sell more songs because he needed the money. So there's a whole, in addition to the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Quentin Tarantino could have gone into a subplot where Charlie there is trying to find the Beach Boys.
Yeah. We mentioned him earlier, but this is Martin Luther King Jr. for this is when he was doing the boycotts in Montgomery, Alabama in 1956. So here he is. Here's
and again, compare the film quality, compare the lighting, compare the angle, the drama of this mugshot.
All these are great, by the way. Yeah. Like I said, like you said, the digital ones, it's just it's what looks more like a driver's license.
Yeah.
This one shocked me. I didn't know he got arrested, but this is we're gonna go a little quicker here. But this is Jim Morrison.
Yeah.
In 1963, he did all kinds of things in Florida. So this is before he had the long hair. And then we have, this is a classic picture. You've probably seen this one a lot as well. Frank Sinatra in 1938.
What an interesting commentary to see what he was arrested for. I mean, he's
adultery and seduction.
So you read that and it's like it must have been with a woman whose husband had like a lot of influence or something like that. It's such a quaint, it's such a different time, right?
Yeah, it's just, it really is. And I think this was right, this is when he was just getting started. So once he was on the peak of his career, I'm sure he never would have gotten arrested for any of that. So let's see here. This one I do remember. But yeah, Bill Gates arrested in 1977. He did not stop at a stop sign and no license. So I mean, it's good to see him. Maybe he can, Albuquerque. I didn't know he was in Albuquerque, but yeah, there he is there. This is Lee Harvey Oswald. We all know him, 1963. Again, great photos. If you go even in the 80s or in the 70s, like you can still see the graining of it. You can still tell that
there's a richness to the color.
Yeah. And you can see that. I'm not sure what he's wearing on his neck here. What is this? I'm not sure what that is.
Looks like it looks like hoodie. It looks from far away. It looks like tinfoil, but it looks like it's a weird Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
So Lee Harvey Oswald, the CIA now admits that he was an asset. We do not know if that means he was an informant or if he was a agent. necessarily.
Yeah. You two don't take us down for this,
Yeah,
but yes.
yeah. Someday we'll know. Someday we'll know. No one will know who JFK is by that time, but someday we'll know the truth about this gentleman.
Yeah, we'll see. He was. I know he. There was a lot of issues that he had from all kinds of his past careers in the military. So, this one I always got a kick out of too. This is Tupac. I think we all remember him. It's 1995 here. So this is when he was kind of big into the rap scene. So again, another 90s photo that looks, I mean, you could, if you didn't know the year of this and you put it and you say, what year is it? Some people could say this was, 1950 something, because it's the way that it looks, right? Yeah. And then here's the famous OJ Simpson, 1994, when he got
and
arrested.
This is a famous mugshot, to the extent that I think it was either Time or Newsweek, when they printed it, they darkened it up. Do you recall that? They took,
maybe
this is black and white, but they took when they put it on the front of the newspaper, or the magazine, they filtered it to make it look darker, right? So it was one of those subconscious things that they were doing to make it more.
I remember when this happened, and it was a shock to a lot of people. I mean, he was America's favorite in everything, whatever he did, and I mean, this is equivalent to like someone like, I would say, like LeBron James doing something like this. This is how big OJ Simpson was when he was arrested for the murder of his wife Nicole. So we haven't seen it. I don't think we've seen anything yet close to this, but yeah, this was pretty big when it happened. This is John Wayne Gacy, another clown here, Joker.
That's right.
You always see people when they do he's always got the clown face stuff on, but this is him in 1978. So, and he was actually executed in 94. Sid here, 1978. That kind of looks like Joker. Joker looks like
a bit there, yeah. And Sid Vicious did play on 3 of the songs on the Sex Pistols album, but they buried it. They had Steve Jones play the dominant bass track, but he did play on 3 of the songs, but they buried it in the mix because he was such a bad player.
Interesting. Did not know that. Larry King, this one terrifies me. I mean, like, what is going on here? Like, what is he on?
I used to love Norm Macdonald when he would do the Larry King.
Look at,
yeah.
How is he on the news?
It was a different time. So, I mean, basically, Larry King is a quintessential right place at the right time. It's like 1978, 1979. They're like, we've got this thing called CNN, Cable News Network. What's that? It's on cable. What's that? They needed to fill time. And he had a talk show, and they said, hey, why don't you talk on TV? And next thing you know, because like literally blue ocean market, there's no competition. Larry King's there, and then everybody gets attached to him. And next thing you know, the guy,
you can't get rid of him. Look at this. I mean, this guy should not even be. Yeah, I don't know.
He was a radio. He was like a DJ.
Yeah,
he had an interesting career. I would say, who am I to judge? But never was so much done with so little.
Yeah, he terrifies. This terrifies me. This is not the Larry King I knew. So here's Lenin, another dictator that you mentioned. Yep. I do like his style of goatee. It looks pretty chill, but yeah, another character. This was in 1895, so yep. If he would have, who knows what would have happened if he didn't make it out of this prison that he was in. So
the 20th century would have been a lot different.
Yeah, I would say so. Here's this one's funny. This is Steve McQueen. He's giving the peace sign. Mm-hmm.
And again,
this was Alaska, 1972. Drunk driving.
Well, and very interesting. He's arrested for a vehicular violation, and fast forward X number of years, and he gets hit by an oncoming car. It's kind of a weird it's kind of a weird it's a weird premonition that
He
was
was
running
also
what the law was for.
They also showed him in that movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. They showed his character in that one. Here's Jimi Hendrix. Got arrested. What? 1969. John Dillinger. This is like one of the most famous bank robbers in history in 1934 in Chicago. Let's see here. Then here's the one you were really surprised about,
Yes,
Mussolini.
yes. So I was aware that Mussolini was a socialist. He was an Italian social democrat. He was a socialist, and basically he was radicalized by World War One, invented fascism as we know it, merger of the corporation and the state, and all that kind of stuff, planned economy. Became a protege of Hitler. I had no idea that he was arrested for being a little raving lunatic anarchist. I had no idea.
1903 in Switzerland. And the weird thing about this photo is there's something in the back of his head, like holding his head forward.
They would do that. Basically, that was a positioner there, because back then you the exposure time on the cameras it took longer to expose it or whatever. So they had something to get them in the right focal point and to not move. So it was like a little headrest. They back them into it. There's a couple others. I've seen other mugshots like that, but that was that was the purpose for that.
Yeah, another what if happened if arrest. Malcolm X here. That's an interesting photo there. But this was in 1944. He was 18 here.
As before he found the Nation of Islam.
Yeah, this one always cracks me up. This is John. I always see this one all the time. It's John Gotti. He's like, "Yeah, you got me." What? 1990.
I'm gonna coast.
The last. Some say this is the last big mob boss to get arrested or in America at all. And here is Son of Sam, David Berkowitz. This 1977. There's a movie about this one too.
Was that a Spike Lee movie?
This is a crazy story in New York where people just didn't want to go outside. Yeah, huh? What was that? Yeah, there was a movie.
Was it a Spike Lee movie? Okay,
I believe so. Yeah, this was an interesting time because at a time when New York was kind of chaotic. People
like now,
but they didn't want to go outside because of this guy. Even though even criminals didn't want to go outside with this guy going around. So
it's kind of like Batman.
Yeah. Then I didn't know about this either. This is Jane Fonda. She's got some type of cool fist. Power. She was arrested with kicking a policeman in Cleveland in 1970.
Hanoi Jane.
She was also carrying vitamins, not illegal drugs, and insists that she was targeted by Nixon White House. Okay.
Probably because she went to North Vietnam and sat on anti-aircraft artillery and when she met with American POWs in a photo op, they tried to slip her a note saying, "We are being tortured and beaten. Get us out of here." And she took the note and handed it to the North Vietnamese, and then those POWs got further beaten and tortured. So it's a free country, Jane. If you don't like the American policy, that's fine. Do not give aid and comfort to our enemies. Do not go to countries that we're at war with and sit on their anti-aircraft artillery and point it at American planes. And if an American POW who's a victim of circumstance gives you a note saying, "Get us the hell out of here," don't give it to the enemy.
Yeah, that's probably why felt like she was targeted. Yep. And then we have Jeffrey Dahmer. We all know what he's done. Let's see here. But yep. And then we've got it's another old. This is like this is what we had the last mob boss, and this is what they say would classify him as the first American mob boss. This is Lucky Luciano, 1931. This is the famous picture that you always see of him, where he's got the lazy eye with the scarred face kind of look. After he got injured, and then you have Ted Bundy here. Oh, we all know who this one, what he's kind of done. A lot of you can see like in the eyes of the serial killers, you can really see that they're just kind of that blank stare, like I'm here. But the ones that I got arrested for something silly or they know they're going to get out in a little bit. They're laughing and they're smiling. It's just interesting to see how who committed what and what they look like when they've got their photo taken. And then here's another mobster. He's quoted for creating Vegas. This is Bugsy Siegel, 1928. And then Mick Jagger was arrested. Wonder what he did. What did he do?
Probably a drug bust.
Oh, he also got busted with Keith Richards and obstructing a police officer. Okay. All right.
Now he's been knighted. He's now a knight.
Yeah, so I guess I took this off his record. This one's funny. Hugh Grant. This almost ruined his career. 1995. Yeah, for prostitution. He literally almost lost his entire career. Now this is when they started getting digital a little bit.
Yeah, it was kind of washed out.
Yeah, or color, I would say.
But he's got the numbers. He's got the numbers there.
He does. Yeah. And then here's another famous mod boss, as we all know, Al Capone. 1930.
Go watch the Untouchables.
Yeah, Untouchables, and also Boardwalk Empire does a good storytelling of those characters.
I have not seen that.
It's loosely based off them. They changed some names, but the main core of all of them are in that show, and it's a really good show. So there you go. That's the ones we found. Now if you want to, if this really fascinates everyone here in the chat, and you want to go look at there's a ton of celebrities who have mugshots, and you can literally go through this entire website, the smokinggun.com mugshot celebrities. I'll put it in the chat. You can literally go through names upon names and find like you have like DMX has got like quite a few of them. Like literally. Then you have like Heather Locklear's got 3 of them. So like if you click on them, it pulls up the image. There's Heather.
I tell you, dude, it's been like easily it's been 20 years since I've been to the Smoking Gun. I used to go to this website like once every few weeks.
Yeah, so there you go.
So yeah, I honestly I didn't even know it was still there. So
there's all kinds of stuff in here. There's this days upon days. Now see, I'm from Arizona, and we had a sheriff, Sheriff Joe Aparo. Some may know that name. He when websites first came online, he thought it would be a great idea to put mugshots of all the people on that website. So when they got arrested, he would put them. So you know who they were, and you kind of knew what they did. So if you saw them around town or whatever, you saw them later, you would know. But there was people caught wind of that website and went to it all the time. It was actually they started showing it on local news networks. It was wild. It was wild. So
that gets into that border, that kind of that realm of the process is the punishment.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Just because I've been arrested for something, I don't know, but
yeah, he did a lot of that. He wanted to humiliate the criminals. But that was fun. That was fun going through that topic there. Again, if you want to see more, you can definitely check out that website there, and it will show you a lot more. Now.